Welcome to Lead Live, reminding you of your personal genius and how you think in order to actualize what you desire. Hello, Dr. Kwende.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you?
I am well, and I am, like you, so appreciative of all the folks who are able to join us today and those in the future able to leverage this broadcast. And our topic today is leveling up. Wow. When you heard leveling up, when you think of leveling up, I don't know if you heard it years ago like I did. There was a colleague, actually someone I was coaching, who used the term to help me with something. And I was like, what is that? I'd never heard it before. And I smiled because years later, I'm using it. We're using it. When you first heard level up, what came to mind to you, Dr. Kwende?
Um, well, I guess kind of, being able to come up to like earn what you deserve in a way. It's if you cannot. There are lots of natures. You cannot get a reaction without an action, right? So you have to do something to get something back. So it's kind of like from just kind of thinking about it, and I haven't thought too much about it, but when I think about leveling up, it's like you have to know what it takes to get what you want to get, right? You can't just get stuff for free. You have to do something to get something. That's kind of just how it resonates to me, just thinking about it.
Yeah, I think of just going to the next level, and this visual really hit me. But this visual makes some assumption that literally there's a foundation that was already there that we just took advantage of and we leveled up. And for some, that may be true because what comes to mind are the typical assumptions. And tell me what you think of this, Dr. Kwende. The expression of progress, right? Someone's earned degrees, they leveled up. Achievements, they complete a big project, they gave a great presentation, they experienced a job promotion, outward expression of leveling up, right? They succeeded. What did they do? They produced exceptional milestones. Whatever the benchmark was, they exceeded it in terms of sales, in terms of building teams that continuously deliver on the goal, whatever the goals happen to be. And then what's the outcome of doing those things? What comes to mind when someone's earned a degree, they complete a project, the audience, what the environment, people, what do? We affirm people, we give them accolades, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I guess part of that is, every time you hit a milestone, you get something back, right? Uh, I guess part of the challenge is most of the time when we get the accolades, then we kind of stop, right? And we don't keep doing the things that got us there. I think I always hear this: what got you there is not going. What brought you here is not going to get you there where you need to go. So even though we can get to some milestone, the next milestone is going to take more than what it took for the previous milestone to be achieved. So it's almost like I know we're talking about the concept of someone wanting to stay fit, but they want to lose weight, and they say, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds. Then they go exercise every day, then they lose 10 pounds, then they stop because they hit the goal that they set. But if you want to be fit, you have to keep doing it, right? So you can't really stop. But it's kind of how you look at it, whether it's just a milestone or a journey that you're taking, you know.
Yeah, and I think what comes to mind is, let me back up a little bit. What we're about, folks, for those of you who are not familiar with the wealth equation, it's all about these 5 F's: faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. That's what we're about. And we fundamentally believe that when you focus, and we'll talk more about the specifics, I don't want to give you too much information too early, but when we say a state of freedom and well-being in each of these areas, we're saying that you literally earn it. No one else may know what you did to earn it. In fact, most of the time, most people don't. But you earn this. And this is what we're really talking about fundamentally. But as you were saying, Dr. Kwende, people tend to get these accolades, whether it's recognition, honors, awards or titles, and it's like, oh my God, I can kind of rest back and put my feet up and everything's cool, right? When in fact, that the whole point of getting there, unless there's some particular reason beyond just getting those accolades, there's continuous work, right? Unless it's just about looking great in that moment because you're physically fit in that moment, does not mean that a month later, a year later, you will look the same, you will feel the same, you will actually be fit unless and until you engage in the same behaviors or even different behaviors to ensure the continuous state of being fit, right? That's what you're saying. So
that's correct, yes.
And too many people, when they get the external environment giving feedback, like they especially people saying, I'm inspired by you, I want to beat your record, I want to achieve for myself, and then they go further, they say, I want to give you props, credits, and they give you access, they give you bonuses, they give you, they say present it, we'll give you a lot of money, and you're like, oh, all the other reason why to kind of sit back and hang back and say, listen, I'm on it. People are seeking my guidance. They want, they want to they want to pay me in advance of $1 million to write a book. I don't have to do anything more. But leveling up says you don't stop there. You don't stop there. And let me be mindful, because I'm a natural introvert, and a lot of you may be too, and you may not have ever sought external feedback. And in fact, if you're like me, you kind of cringe. And I smile. I try to look like it's comfortable. And so we get you, those of you who are introverts and you don't want this. And yet the reality is, too often when we get it, we do just sit back because we've arrived. And what are we talking about, folks? I want to show you a visual. We want to show you a visual. What people see is this, right, Dr. Kwende?
Yeah. Yeah.
Describe this.
Yeah. So when we living life, the things that people actually see, the external stuff, like the tip of the iceberg that you can see, is just a small, tiny fraction of what is actually there, right? They say that the things that you do in the dark, you're going to be recognized for them in the daylight. So, in the bottom of the ocean right here, all the other stuff that you do that nobody's seeing, that's where the real focus is. But people just always talk about the little stuff that they can see externally, but most of it is actually internal. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think it's just kind of also recognize that and focus on the things that we know are the real stuff. And obviously the external stuff is key, but it only exists if the stuff at the bottom of the ocean can be there. Can you imagine the iceberg actually showing up? The top part will not be there if the bottom did not exist.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You got it. And so we want people to remember, when you see someone and you think, and you know that he or she is all in their glory because they're being recognized, they've done a stellar job, and there's evidence of their achievements, and they're just kind of hanging back. I did it. Whatever works, okay? But more importantly, know that they didn't just get there overnight. They did the heavy lifting. And many people now talk about, after they've achieved some level, and some people, they achieve a lot and they never talk about it. And there's so many examples that we can give you of people who've transitioned, who died, who passed, and no one knew that they had multiple millions of dollars, and they only knew because they left it to a university, or they left it to a community center, or they left it to family members who may not even given them the time of day. So just because you see some successes, there's some people who prefer to have their entire iceberg submerge. And it may be you, because you're planning to build a legacy that you leave behind for subsequent generations. Kudos to you. And we want to acknowledge that certain things are embedded in that journey, right, Dr. Kwende?
Yeah,
And
there's a lot that happens for success to be the case. I mean, it's almost like the habits that we have, right? They say you are your habits in a way. Um, you know, just this morning I was watching a video on habits. Uh, every day we do something, we kind of affirm the person that we want to be, right? If you get up, you want to be fit, you do a few press ups. Then the next day, you do a few press ups, or you can just do 100 press ups one day and then stop, right? But you have to keep doing the things that affirm who you want to be, and you do them over time, consistently. Dr. Webb, we've been having this show like every, you know, consistently,
every week.
consistently will be, yeah. That's kind of how you build the success long term, right? It becomes like a habit rather than just something you do once in a while. And so
Yeah.
when people see at the end, some major things happen, they go like, "Hey, you kind of lucky." It's like, no, it takes it takes time, it takes consistency to keep doing the same thing or whatever you have to do on all the time, all the time, all the time. Then it becomes a habit.
Well, when we were talking, we talk about what people don't see. So I'll show this visual again. People can take a screenshot if they like. And there's so many evidences of the iceberg effect and in our consciousness. People don't see the many failures. And quite frankly, a very dear loved one of mine, Brian Monroe, he's no longer with us. He transitioned back in January of this year, and deeply, deeply loved. His kids are my godchildren, and there were celebrations of his life all over the country and probably in other continents because of his remarkable journalism and the impact that he made that led not only to awards, which is the manifestation, but people didn't see his tireless work behind the scenes to advance things. And people don't even know, unless they're part of the in crowd, they don't know the kind of effect that he had on journalism. But those who are journalists, who are Black, who are Latino, who are Asian, who are Native American, who are women, who are white, they know that he helped to change the face of journalism on television, in radio. But the point is, he was on one of my earlier shows, and thanks, he was, I think, the first or second. I'm not sure. I may have been the second. And he was always the one I could go to. Brian, I'm thinking this. Well, what's your elevator speech? Give it to me right away. And it was always uncomfortable, but that was the power of him. He calls you to get out of your comfort zone. And, and he reminded me of, and his dad reminds me, who's a 4-star general, that it doesn't matter where you start. What matters is that you do start. And it even doesn't even matter where you end. What matters is that remarkable journey that you're on. Yes, if you're on the journey and you're doing like you say, Dr. Kwende, you're not relenting. You're constantly moving. You're constantly what we call you leveraging a growth mindset. And you're clear about where you want to go. And there's a burning desire for that. And then you do what you said, Dr. Kwende, you have a habit of mind to engage on a steady, consistent basis to build the capacity to actually progress and then achieve. And when the achievement happened, you're like, oh, that wasn't a big deal. But the failures were like a big deal. Oh my God, this is the terror bear. Can I get through it? Yes, you can. Oh my God, there's people in the way. Yes, you can. Oh my God, the systems are not working. No problem. You can do it. Okay. And as so many people prior to me, great people, more informed and educated and learned and experienced and success oriented people, just do what you need to do and keep moving. So the failures are preconditions, right, Dr. Kwende? And then setbacks. Oh my God. Can you think of a naysayer who looked at you when you decide to do what you and I are doing and so many other smart people are doing and said, what are you, man, you got a PhD, you got an MBA, you work in Silicon Valley, you're an executive, you do top-notch work and you're recognized. What the heck are you doing? Leaving that $250,000 plus job and then you and your wife together almost having $1 million a year in income. I hope you don't mind me sharing personal, but this really gets people, right? And then you go shut down all of that and you go in a new direction. Did you have naysayers?
Absolutely, absolutely. And actually, your closest family are usually the greatest naysayer because those are the people you hear
Ooh,
from the most, right? And then your friends. But everybody's honestly trying to protect you from their perspective,
exactly.
right? And that's a part that you have to recognize that they doing it genuinely most of the time because of what they know. And I did some training on being an entrepreneur, and I said you have to avoid naysayers until you win when you become an entrepreneur, because you need to, right? Because they keep trying to slow you down, and they're being genuine about what they're trying to do, but that's not what you need. So you just have to guard your associations in that environment, do what you need to do, then you can go back after you want, so they can see why you were doing, because they most people want to see evidence of results before they can go like, oh, that kind of makes sense.
Mhm.
But they're not looking at the work that it takes, the challenges you have to go through, the journey you have to go through. I think there's a pastor that says people want the glory but not the story. Right? You can't have the glory until there's the story, right? I guess we celebrate Jesus because what he had to die on the cross so
Mhm.
that he could save us. But you have to go through that journey first. You can't just be glorified without going through the pain journey. And for me, though, what I say, and I think this helps me a lot, is there are only two things that can stop you winning in life. Just two things, right? One is what? Roadblocks. And then the other one is storms, right? Those are two main categories of things that can stop you from winning. However, the perspective that you have to those things, that makes all the difference, right? Roadblocks are kind of like redirection, and storms, for me, they open my path. So it doesn't really matter. I expect to have challenges to do what I need to do. But I think you're putting up the mindset part. It's really just understanding where you are, right? For me, it's more about growth than just a fixed, mindset, for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, as you were talking, so many men, so many women, so many girls, so many boys, so many people, so many images were coming through my head. And not just the folks who are known like Elon Musk or an Oprah Winfrey. Um, I am thinking about people that most people don't even know their names, and yet they are diligently doing, and they built that infrastructure, that foundation, that major ice, dense compact ice underneath the ocean. And literally they have created what otherwise be considered unimaginable, because people took what they thought was the essence of them, that they could see, they could smell, they could touch, they could, through their sensory factors, determine this is their trajectory, which all they're doing, or most of what they're doing, is projecting, as you said brilliantly, they're taking their own perspective and overlaying it. That's what they know. And that's why we say to people, if you want to go big, you've got a big vision. It's big when you don't know how to get there. That's the best kind of vision. Then go to folks who've already achieved it. Yes, someplace on the planet, there's multiple people who've achieved what you want to achieve, whether they've codified in books or they're available as a human being somewhere on the planet. Find those individuals, draw them to you. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Draw that essence of their intelligence and their experiences, their failures, they're dealing with naysayers, and leverage that so that you don't have to go through all of the experience. You're going to have your own, but you don't have to go through all of the same experiences to build up, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you want to make progress, you can't start from zero. When we did research, right, you do a PhD, you have to kind of go on the edge of knowledge, right?
Yes,
You kind of go based on what people have done, and then you just have to go just a little bit beyond that. Then the
exactly.
next person just goes just a little bit beyond. That's how I understood the system to work.
Yeah, yeah, powerful. So, hard work. Wow. What does hard work to mean to you? And I want to share what it means to me.
I mean, hard work, obviously to get anything you have to work. Uh, but when you work, you're going to have to deal with challenges, the unexpected. But hard work is really just getting up every day, doing, sometimes we call it the dirty, dirty. If, in my business, you have to be able to contact people, talk to them, do the presentation, talk to your team. I mean, whatever it is that needs to be done to get the results that you're looking for, you have to just do them, right? And consistently, every day, wake up, go do it again, and do it again. Just do it. Whatever it is you have to do, consistently, just doing it no matter what's happening. That's kind of how I look at hard work per se, right? It's not just doing the least expected; it's doing more than you expected to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm always reminded of my habits, and I didn't even know that they were mine. I just lived me. And people used to complain, you show up before everybody, you leave after everybody, you do so much work. And especially when I had people reporting to me, my God, we can't keep up with you. And then as I left one role to another role, they hired two people in for one position because it was too much for one person. Then they hired at another institution three people to fill a job when I left it. And I'm like, what's the big deal? And I didn't know my wiring. And I'm so glad I didn't really think about it. I was just, there's work to do. Let's just get it done. Let's just get it done, whatever it is. And so you are either wired in a way that just focus, get it done, whatever it is, stuff that you enjoy. And when you enjoy something really well, you're going to have stuff that you consider to be crap that you've got to deal with. Let's just be clear, folks. And that's a technical term, crap. And so when you deal with those things that you consider to be nonsensical in the way, and you just want to scream. Well, first of all, allow yourself to go to a place to scream. I remember I work with a team of people, and collectively we created this magnificent, I won't even go into details because I don't want to out people, but we created this magnificent something. And oh my gosh, the whole community, actually a whole county was like leveraging it. This is awesome. This is great. And then someone needed for someone else to be derailed, to be publicly humiliated. So that person came in and literally threw a bomb into the whole equation. And I was like, and all of us were like, what? This has been going on magically. But it made a particular person that this other individual did not like get all the kudos. We didn't care who got the credit. We wanted the community to have this. Who cares who was behind the scene? This person came in and just threw a bomb, blew it up. And I wanted to grab that person and throw that person out the window. Of course, that's in one scene, right? That's the scene inside. The real scene was diplomatically get in, neutralize the stuff, get things back on track. But let me tell you, I needed to scream. So what did I do? I left there. I went to the right off the ocean, beautiful sandy beach in San Francisco. And literally Ocean Beach, it was gorgeous. A lot of people out there had on brand new shoes with heels. And I got off my car, stomped in the sand, screamed and did whatever. And people stopped like, what's going on? And there was this elder sitting there, beautiful Eurasian looking guy, beautiful spirit, probably in his 80s, late 80s, early 90s. He looks at me and he does this and he smiles. And then other people thought I was just playing around. They started dancing and screaming too. It was hilarious. But I got in my car and I was done. So you find a way to deal with nonsense, folks, but you don't let it derail you. So the next day I showed up, the other people showed up, well, most people, some people didn't show up, but we showed up and we showed out and made things happen. So yeah, I haven't thought about that in years. That would be cathartic to go through that. And so, yeah, there's late night, there's taking risk, but the risks are strategic risk. And the risk, I taken risks and I failed. And you know what? The good news is I know how to, if I need to beat myself up a moment because I didn't listen to someone, I do something right or whatever the first time, I do it and I'm done. And I keep moving. Take another risk. Strategic, listen better, use better tools. Or maybe there was nothing better. You just learn from the failure to ensure progress. Yeah. And without a doubt, the courageousness and persistence and action. And even for some people, I never thought I was courageous, Martin. Did you think you were courageous when you did things?
um, Actually, there's always some element of doubt about whether you can do it. I mean, I know even lately, I hate jumping, right, from heights, and I hate water because I can't really swim. It's kind of shameful to say that, but that's the truth.
Oh, you fit the stereotype of a black man.
Yeah, exactly. My bones are too heavy.
I love
But
it. Go ahead.
I
Yes.
had to go on the boat, like three-decker boat, and I had to jump in the ocean. Like two things I hate to do. So I was like panicked, but I put on my life jacket and then boom, I jumped. So now I don't really fear water that much, but I used to panic just thinking about it. Right?
I love it. I love it. So you don't have to have courage to do something is a real point that you're making. In fact,
Yeah,
you could have just what considered the inverse.
absolutely, absolutely. And every time you overcome a fear, then you become a different person. You get better, But it's just the confidence to go do the things that you're not comfortable with. Because just the person that you are right now is perfect, but 5 years from now, that same person is going to be inadequate.
Word. What do you mean by that? Tell us more.
So where we are right now, we are perfect exactly where we are. All the things that we've gone through to be here have informed who we are right now. But the person that we need to be 5 years from now is not the same person that we are right now. That means there are things that we have to go through from now to the end of this day or the week to become the next version of what we need to be.
Why?
And
I can imagine someone's on the other end like, why? It's worked for my parents, it worked for my friend, or it seems to work for them.
yeah, my understanding is that you can't stay at the same place. If you are not growing, you are dying. Right? There's no just staying still. You either grow or you die. It's I don't know what a simple example would be.
It reminds me of Dr. King's statement, and I'm not going to paraphrase it very well. So my apologies to all who honor him and his spirit. And that is that in the graveyard, there are a lot of dreams.
Yes,
Right?
I am very familiar with that because that's something that I think is very valid. It says that the graveyard is the wealthiest place on earth
Yes.
because most people die with their dream inside of them.
Yes.
And actually, that's one of my affirmations is to die empty. And I think I used to listen to Pastor Monroe, late Pastor Monroe, and he said you have to die empty. All the gifts that God gave us are not for us to keep; it's for us to give away. And so, if I'm still alive, every day I wake up, I know that what I have stuff to still do. And this is part of why I tell my team every time I talk, I'm like, hey, every day my goal is to get as many thank yous as possible. Because that forces me to do the stuff that I'm supposed to do. No one can tell me thank you for nothing. I have to do something good. So I force myself to want thank yous just so I can do what I need to do.
So leveling up for you, if you were to summarize it, is what?
Well, I believe that, like I just said, every day we wake up, there's something left for us to do. Right? So I can't say, well, I'm already good with where I am. That doesn't work. If I'm still here, there are people that I need to impact. There are things that I need to do every day. Every one of us, if you wake up, there's stuff that you need to do. So for me, leveling up is doing the most that you can do every day. You have to do the most that you need to do because we don't know how long we have.
That's correct.
Any one of us. So today is the only day that I know for sure I need to do the most that I can do today, the most good that I can do.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head when you said we don't know how much time we have. If we really want to pay it forward, this life itself. Leave a legacy. That's pretty profound. We should not assume that we even have the next moment. Literally, we shouldn't assume that we have the next day or the next year. Last week, I saw a neighbor, and he, matter of factly, I'm sure, still in shock, but understandable shock, and in a loving way, let me know that his wife died. And I was like, what? And then almost without much of a breath afterwards said, oh, did you know so-and-so? And she died too. It was like I was poo. And the second person I was supposed to see or talk with soon. And the shock, it was like, okay. And all I wanted to do was cry, and I could, and I let some tears fall, but I had work to do. And so with greater intensity, I went to my work. Now we deal with that kind of trauma in different ways, but the power is whatever incentivizes you to use the growth mindset, whatever incentivizes each one of us to find that feeling that really gets us to a place where we have a burning desire to pursue. You can call me a zealot or Dr. Kwende, just overwhelmed with this intensity, whatever it is, and it comes out and it manifests differently for different people. Some people, you never even know it. Like the iceberg seems to always be submerged and they're doing great work, but you don't even know it because they're quietly, significantly pacing themselves, or not even pacing themselves, and they're making it happen. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to continue to move forward and make happen what's possible. Let's talk about habits a little bit more, because I think people take for granted, oh, okay, I did it for a month. And I think your analogy of the fitness, I know your analogy of the fitness perspective is just so spot on. But what do you mean by habits? Because I think there's two pieces I want us folks to hear. Our perspective of habits, and then if they're habits that you're using that don't work, how to permanently change them, which a lot of people don't know they can do.
Yeah, so I guess the way that I think about habits is stuff that you do without thought, for example. So if you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you don't have to think about it, you just go do it. Right? If you want to go to bed, for example, I have habits, you have to build them up, but there are things that you do that are just part of your life that you don't have to think to do, even though they kind of program, because you start doing them consistently. So if I wake up in the morning, almost every day we have to read the Bible. We work with I forgot his name again, in Southern California, Warren. What his name just slipped my mind. But he has this daily, Bible prayer thing that he does, that we read every day as part of a habit. So every morning, wake up, boom, I take my phone first thing. I have to go look Pastor Rick Warren, right? So I just look daily devotion, and we just read that and go through it and talk about it, and then we pray. But it's just something that we do every day. Then I iron my kids' clothes every day too, for them to go to school. Okay, so I either iron them before I go to bed or I iron them when I wake up. But that's something I have to do every day. I love doing that, so I do that. But it's just become part of what I have to do. That's, to me, kind of a habit. You build something that you don't really have to think about it. You just do it, right? Most of us do a lot of stuff based on habit. And the reason why that is important is because when you get stressed, when those roadblocks or those crazy things happen, it's your habits that are going to keep you going, because you still do those things without thinking, right? The things that you make an effort to do, that's not a habit, you're going to stop when some challenges come your way. But your regular habits, you just do them without thinking, right? In a way, it's almost like programming your subconscious mind, right?
It is.
Yeah, to know the things that need to be done. So if you want to be able to do something consistently, you just have to, I think they say that if you repeat something for 21 days consistently, then it almost becomes a habit. Your subconscious just does it. And that's kind of what I would say is habit for me.
I want to compliment you by indicating that not only is there this big thing that we don't even know where it is, scientists don't know where it's located. They say it emanates outside of the body, and there's an assumption that it doesn't go away. That mind. So the mind is not just in the brain; it's in every cell of the body, and it emanates out. And the mind has at least two parts: conscious mind, the thinking mind, and the subconscious mind you mentioned. That's the emotional feeling mind. And what most people benefit from knowing, and that is the vast majority of what we do every single day is based on that feeling subconscious mind, that emotional mind. I call that the heart and brain connection. The heart, there's more signals going from the heart to the brain than the reverse. Most people don't know that unless you've read some of the scientific research. The power of the heart, the power of the emotional mind is no joke, folks. 90 to 99% of what we do every day is based upon the emotional predispositions that we have. And we always say, what are we as humans if not habits? And so we are our habits. As Dr. Kwende just said, we are our habits. We take things for granted. We just do things routinely. We get off on one side of the bed. Well, why not the other side? Well, my husband or my wife is there, or my dog or my cat's there. Well, so you can climb over them. And so we can choose to change it. You will automatically be wired to go right back to the same experience of getting off on that same side of the bed, unless and until you literally program a new way of getting out of that bed. And 21 days, you said a minimum. I say always 90 days. And if you slip up one day, you start the count over again. Because after 90 days, you won't even be thinking that I'm doing this routinely. I'm consciously, it now is part of the subconscious mind. The question some people say, well, how do I make that stick? I can do it, but what tools do I use? We have 6 major tools that most of us take for granted. We don't work them. We don't, so let's not talk about what we don't do. What we get to do is we get to work them. We get to enhance them. We get to learn about them. We get to literally habitually every single day for 90 days, strengthen one, then go to the second one. But we need all of them in order to change a habit. What are those mental tools? There's the ability of, there's will, there's imagination, there's intuition, there's reason, there's perception. And what am I missing out on? There's one. Did I say reason? There's 6 of them. And we systematically, will, perception, memory, reason, intuition, and imagination. Those are all mental tools. Yes, I know some people think intuition is a feeling. Yeah, we know what we know, what we know, we know. That's a mental tool. And you don't need evidence, you just know it. And when you are so well tuned in all of those mental areas, using those mental tools, oh my God, you're brilliant. And arguably, that's why some people who have never learned to read or write are magnificent. They're using those mental capacities. You're like, that guy can't even read. He's illiterate. He's functionally illiterate. His daughter does everything. And yet he's bringing in millions of dollars, billions of dollars. Who cares that he can't read or write? He's using the other tools he has. Yes, he might be better off, but maybe actually he's better off leveraging that daughter or that granddaughter who then gets to, what do we call it? Sharpen her skills, sharpen her tools, enhance her capacity, and add to that infrastructure. Now, as someone who's highly educated, just like Dr. Kwende, we value education. We value reading, writing, thinking. But let's be very clear. Let's not assume that because we have degrees behind our name that we are leveraging our tools. So whether you have a college degree, whether you have a high school degree, whether you have several degrees is not the issue. The issue is using the tools you were given at birth, and you can go further than that degree will take you. And that's what we're talking about, right? So when we think about faith, we think about family, we think about finance, we think about fitness, we think about fun, integrated, we think about the power of the human spirit to magically transform things in an instant. And we're not talking because we can. We really want people to shift in a way that works for each individual, for family, for community, so we edify, or collectively, we enhance the nature of the human experience. It's too much nonsense going on that we ourselves are reinforcing.
You know, when you talk about like the degrees, so I put my name, I put PhD, MBA, you put your name, put PhD. That's the that's the external iceberg that people see, right? Some people have honorary PhDs or whatever. It's going to say the same, but you don't know what they did or didn't do to get it, right? So, and that's a challenge I see with the iceberg effect. The stuff that people see usually is not really what it is, right? There's more to you have to know. Until you actually have that experience beneath the ocean, you can't really understand what is on top of it.
Got it. And every one of us, without exception, are part of an iceberg effect. We're creating an iceberg effect, and there are different levels. The power of leveling up is understanding that we can deal with so much more than we think sometimes, and we can exceed our expectations frequently. We have to allow ourselves to leverage the growth mindset, leverage our clarity of conviction around our vision, our mission, our core values, operationalize that stuff in terms of strategic goals, priorities, further leveraging strategies because we've learned from the best and the brightest who've succeeded in the way that we want to, or somehow connected to the way that we want to. And then install new habits. Dr. Kwende, something you say that I really value, and you've said it more than once here on Lead Live, and that is what we've done historically got us to where we're at now. And you did it again today. Where we're going to be tomorrow will be based upon what we're doing today. If we are where we always want to be, we don't need to do anymore. That's it, right? We can start dying right now. If we want to be someplace else, whatever that is, because we want to magnify the essence of humanity or the essence of life, we want to in some way contribute, then we've got work to do. It doesn't mean that it all has to be laborious, but let's be very clear. Whatever fun that we create, it has an underpinning of a lot of important milestones that we've have already achieved or will achieve. Some things that came to mind. People tend to think because, you seem to be working around the clock, you're not resting. I want people to know I absolutely have to rest. I didn't understand the importance of rest historically. And most of my life, I just needed 4 hours of sleep. So I thought. And I actually, if I slept more than 4.5 hours, I was off the whole day. I was in a fog. I was achy. But if I slept 4 hours, less than 4.5 hours, I was on. But I took that for granted. I thought, well, I could go days without sleeping. And I would go 2, 3, and I'd stretch it out. Oh, I can get more done. What I didn't know was that I was harming myself physically. People kept saying, where did this come from? And I rarely would take credit. So on my team and I, we did it. Didn't matter if I did it because it wasn't about me. And so that fueled me. Oh, I could do that. I could do the next thing. And then all of a sudden my body began to shut down. So we've got to be careful. Rest is absolutely a precondition to health and well-being and success. Clean water is an absolute precondition to health and well-being and success. Healthy foods, vegetables, a combination, not just one consistently. I don't care what it is. A combination is a precondition to wealth and well-being. The way we think and what we put in our mind and how we feel are preconditions. What do you say about that, Dr. Kwende?
Well, you're absolutely correct. There's more to life than just, when it comes to sleep, for example, I I have different perspectives to sleep, but I absolutely agree what you're saying. When I was in college, I was a lot younger. I would never sleep more than 5 hours, no matter what, because I I did physics, and there's the concept of quantum or quanta, whatever.
Yes, quantum
And
physics.
yeah, my mindset was, if I sleep for 5 hours, if I sleep for 6, it's going to require me to sleep for 10, because I sleep in blocks.
Ah,
So if I get into the next block of sleep, then I feel sleepy or tired the whole day, because it's like, I didn't sleep enough. So I go to bed at 2, I get up at 7. Go to bed at 2, get up at 7. And I felt like that was enough sleep. And you think about it, sometimes it's like, and don't get me wrong, if somebody says you should sleep for 8 hours a day, that means you're sleeping for 1/3 of your life.
that's right.
That's crazy if you think about it. Like 1/3 of your life, you're just sleeping, right? The truth is, if you want to succeed now, you don't have to do it forever, but there's some time frame where you cannot sleep more than a certain amount of hours a day if you want to do the things that need to be done, because it's about compounding the stuff, right? You study for like 7 years, you get a PhD, and then you don't have to do that for the rest of the time, right? But while you're doing that, you're not going to be sleeping regularly. You start a company, you're going to put in more hours for a certain amount of time, so that down the road you don't have to, right? And for me, it's not a question of how many you have to sleep on average. It's stuff you have to do based on where you want to go, I think. So if you're trying to build something, you have something you need to get done, you have to give yourself a time, but in that time you have to do more than just sleep your regular sleep. Then you buy yourself time, in essence. And I've been joking with this concept. I say that all of us are clones, right? In life, we're all clones. What do I mean by that? Anytime every one of us, when we work, somebody's going to get paid, because the system is set up that way.
Correct.
When I had a job, I'm somebody's clone. If you work at Microsoft, you are Bill Gates' clone. Get the concept of what I'm saying, right?
Yep.
So the issue is not whether you're going to be a clone or not. All of us are clones. The real question is, if Bill Gates has thousands of clones working at Microsoft, how many clones do you have? How many do I have? That started changing how I think about what I do. In fact, I was talking
You're thinking specifically as an entrepreneur. So we put this in perspective.
Exactly. I was talking to one of my friends.
An entrepreneur building to be a business owner where you don't have to put in as many hours.
Exactly. Okay. So I was talking to a good friend of mine. He's like, hey, I'm great at real estate. I'm like, that's awesome. Right. And he said, oh, you sell insurance? I'm like, no, I don't sell insurance necessarily. When I look at what I do, it's more a question of how many clones can I create with what I do than how good can I do it. That's how I think about it, right? Because the more people that I can have doing it, then I have more freedom of time to actually do the stuff that I need to do.
Yeah. And I want to extend what our mentor has conveyed, because it's so much, it resonates with me, and it's always resonated with me, even with so-called employees. And that is, I'm in the business of building leaders. Doesn't mean that I can do it alone. In fact, I can't if I'm talking about hundreds of leaders. I'm in the business of building the right level of the right kind of mindset within each individual, whether that's 3 individuals, 5 individuals, or 10 individuals, and then for them to do the same, so that everyone down the line can literally exceed what I do. So it is like a constant moving organization where it appears as though it's the classic top down that I've experienced in higher education, where there's clearly a so-called lead, and there's all these folks who are carrying out the work as you call it, clones. But with our organization, yes, there appears to be, and there is a lead, and yet that lead can literally be complemented by others who are in the organization. And so the leads are complementary now at the same level, or the folks who were brought in at 3 levels below, if you will, are now leading as part of that entire organization. Or it doesn't even it's magical. It doesn't even make sense. It's kind of like life itself is organic, right? We don't know where we're going to be on the planet unless we fight very hard to stay where we're at. We could be anywhere. You probably didn't think when you were 2 years old you were going to be in the United States. You were in the continent of Africa. There's plenty of countries there. Why the US? You're in a completely different continent. And in the same way, I didn't think that I'd be in Northern California, or that I would spend time in China, or that I would spend time in Europe when I was 2 years old, or I'd spend time in South America, or I spend time in Canada. It didn't dawn on me that I would do what I've done. But that's the beautiful nature of when you're pursuing something and you're leveling up. You open yourself up to possibilities. But you keep in mind that ultimate vision you want to achieve, helping millions of people, as one example, which is characterize us. We're looking at expanding, helping as many people as possible so that they're leveling up because they understand their value. That's what this is all about, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Whew. Well, I'm thinking about, Dr. Kwende, traditions, philosophical principles, religions, plural, cultural predispositions. And I'm thinking about so many different ways of conveying the following. Ask and ye shall be given. Seek and ye shall find. And knock and it shall be open. And literally, there's a comparable complement to that in the Torah, in the Quran, in philosophical texts. Among the Buddhist community, I've heard complementary to that years ago in the Taoist community. It really doesn't matter. Truth is truth. And we just want folks, you, viewers, to know that you get to experience exactly what you want based upon your mindset, based upon your habits, and that burning desire. If you don't feel it, you're not going to do it. You don't do it, you're not going to achieve what you have in your mind. Because it's not about your thinking, it's about your feeling and your actions that reinforce that vision that you have. Would you agree, Dr. Kwende?
Yeah, they say that 3 things that you have to do to achieve anything that you want, right? 3 steps. The first is that you have to think it, right? First, you have to think about what you want, like you have to think it. But then, second thing, you have to speak it. You have to say it, right? You have to write it down. So it has to come out. So you think about it, you write it down, and then you go do it. You have a strategy to go get it done. It's almost like we look around us right now, right? You look at in your studio, you look around, you see the cameras, you see the lighting, right? All of this thing is kind of amazing when you really think about it. All of these things were an idea and somebody said at some point in time. Somebody imagine anything we look around, the cell phone, whatever. It was somebody's thinking, somebody's imagination. But guess what? They wrote it down and then they got to work and they get it done. So every time I think to myself, like, when I check out of here, when people look around, how are they going to remember me? I think about that all the time. How are they going to remember me? I don't know. But I'm hoping that, just being able to shift people's mindset, change their lifestyle, change their family's life by what we do, they're going to still remember, like, hey, our lives is different because this happened. My life obviously is very different. Why? Because I met, I mentor Eric Olson, for sure, no question about it. In fact, I was talking to him just yesterday. I'm like, wow, my entire life changed just because, we met. And I was telling some of the people that were sitting with yesterday, I'm like, that moment, in fact, what happened was somebody called me for my job and I showed up. And that moment that I interacted with Eric has changed like thousands of lives already. And my point is, even like right now that we're speaking, you and I met also kind of, right?
If
Similarly,
it
like,
wasn't for Eric, we would not have met. That's
yeah,
correct.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right? Boom,
Mm-hmm.
we met just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking about how many people we've been impacting just by having these
Mm-hmm.
conversations.
Yeah, because Olive met Eric and she's part of the team. And then Tomoko met Olive and she's part of the team. Tomoko brought me in. Olive and Tomoko said, you need to meet Eric. And there we go. I mean, literally these connections. And what you and I know is the power of when we know that someone needs something is to show up and just share it. And that's why I said earlier, I'm responding to the universe. I'm responding to the God presence, the universal life force, the great spirit. I'm responding to the essence of life. And literally, I thought of someone this morning. In less than 2 minutes, she called me. And last Thursday, I think it was, I asked a question trying to seek a solution that was not connected to the question. And the person gave me an answer, connected me to a person who gave me the answer. And it's just about living, folks. Your intuition is on all the time. The degree to which you're healthy, you're thinking clearly, you're feeling, and there's something to the equation, Dr. Kwende. You said think, write it down, and act. I say you can do all those things, but if you don't feel it, if it's not relevant, you'll go through the exercise and you'll go through the routine, but the universe won't respond because what you're really feeling is, I don't deserve this. I'm not going to experience whatever. And what's the point of this? And then you're going to stop. You've got to have that desire. And let me be very clear, Dr. Kwende, you have a vision that is so intertwined with the essence of who you are. So we know you're going to achieve it. I know I'm going to achieve mine because it is so critical. It's a part of my identity. And that's what we're saying to folks. You've got to literally do what really is an integral part of who you are, what makes you who you are, and then get out the way. Because it doesn't matter whether it's about being an extraordinary singer or being a professional athlete or flying or building an aircraft and going to the moon or going to Mars, or it is about jumping off a tall building to demonstrate that it can be done, or building an extraordinary flying vehicle, which they already exist. Building one that's more magical that can transport more people. I mean, literally, let me be very clear. Or building a home that's submerged underneath the ocean, which already exists, but making it ubiquitous so we're not concerned about being locked to the land. Uh, Whatever that is, when you have a burning desire, oh my God, get out of the way. It doesn't matter what barrier you experience, you will break through it because your desire is so hot. It's like if somebody touched you, they would just, it's like, oh my God, what the heck is going on with you? And you just smile and walk away like everything's cool. And it is cool because you are not only thinking magically, thinking big, you are feeling magical. You're feeling big. Right, Dr. Kwende? That's what we're talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. The burning desire is always key, right? You have to think it, you have to write it down, but you have to have a burning desire to actually make it happen. It has to mean something to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Judith, for acknowledging what Dr. Kwende conveyed. And then we're just bringing it home saying that desire, however you characterize it, whether you say it's burning desire, whether you say it's your passion, however you characterize it, you know that you literally need it to breathe. It gets you out of the bed. And so when you, Dr. Kwende, you and your lovely wife get up and you go directly to that habit of reading the Bible together, which solidifies your relationships and deepens it. It's powerful. So you're demonstrating the power of being in relationship, which is the reason why you're both remarkably successful. and will continue to be. And not just in monetary terms, which you are, but in terms of your children, in terms of your lives together. I mean, let's say you already have created a legacy. And I know your bigger legacy requires a lot more work. Folks, whether we're talking about Dr. Kwende or I'm illuminating me, which I try not to do too much, it's not about us only. It's about all of us. When all of us are in a healthier state, mind state, feeling state, action state, oh my God, this planet transitions like that into a completely different paradigm. How would you like to summarize today, Dr. Kwende, or close today?
You know, when you first said the phrase leveling up, and I hear that a lot of time, but I never really pay attention to it. But it's kind of interesting just talking about it right now, and understanding that, you know, we have to do more to level up. We have to be conscious about what we want to achieve, right? And that's why, you know, the mindset part is key. And a lot of time people ask me, like, what do you do? I go with my kids to soccer tournaments and they say, what do you do? I say, I teach people how to think. Because the truth is that our society is set up based on the fact that most of us don't think.
Word.
Right? Yeah, that's the truth. When you look at the job system, you look at the banking system, all of that stuff, it's set up with the understanding that we don't have time to think. And they program everything just so we don't have time. We're busy working, busy doing stuff, but we don't have time to think. Because if we did, a lot of the stuff that we do would never happen, would not even be possible. So I love this conversation because it's like everyone needs to start thinking. When I grew up, they told me you have to go study hard and become wealthy. So I did. And then I got stuck at the bottom of the top. And then I started getting a mentor. He said, you have to think and grow rich. And he showed me a book to read about that. Right? So it's kind of amazing how just thinking changes everything. Everything starts with thought. And the truth is that it's about educating your subconscious, which is why two things I ask us to do all the time. Excuse me. Your subconscious just listens to whatever you tell it.
And it accepts everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything. You're on it.
Yeah. So they say don't listen to yourself, speak to yourself. Yes. That's why you have to read out your goals aloud. You have to read the affirmation so your subconscious is listening. That's how we program it. But if you did that consistently as a habit, it's going to change your thinking and change who you are and what you can achieve. And I'm hoping that this conversation that we have, when we keep talking about you have to think, to me, that's key. Because if we're not doing that, then we're kind of getting stuck. And the system is not going to tell you to do that.
And yet we want you to know there's more than one system. And there's a system that we leverage. And the system that we leverage, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Kwende, says save yourself time, energy, and money. System. Save yourself time, energy, and money. Follow a system that is a precondition that will assure your success. It does take hard work. It does require a growth mindset. It does require leveraging experts, millionaires, billionaires. It does require those who've done the work. And I don't mean anyone. I mean those who've done the work, who have demonstrate faith, a value for family. They demonstrate it, and they demonstrate the importance of fun as you even take care of your overall well-being, physical, mental, emotional. I want to add to that in a compliment, because we want you, in the next episode, we're going to go very deep in the financial realm. We want you to understand some fundamental truths about money on this planet, and in the United States in particular, but across the planet. And we want you to know that you can begin and end with trust of yourself. And all of a sudden, and leveraging the kind of information we share, and that's not just available from us, in order to get to the place you need to get to, that you want to get to, that it requires trust will be evident in your sincerity with yourself, your being consistent with yourself, you being reliable and accountable to yourself, committing to that higher vision, and developing the competence on a regular basis. And because of that, all those, you're demonstrating personal integrity. You've got a priority, you have a mission, you have values, and you're living them. That's integrity. Folks, it's an honor always to be here with Dr. Kwende, and most importantly, for both of us to share what we know to have worked and worked effectively, and we want to pass it on to you freely so that you leverage. You leverage, you leverage, you leverage, so that we get the benefit of your success. If you have any questions, take a screenshot, contact us. We're open always to hearing from you and supporting you on your journey. Dr. Kwende, always an honor.
Thanks, Dr. Webb. I appreciate you very much. And I remember I told you I always wanted to write a book, but now I don't have need for one.
It's an absolute honor.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And those of you who will be available to join us next week, we welcome you, or you'll be able to look at it at the recordings on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and definitely Roku TV, Amazon TV. And more importantly, as you move into the balance of this holiday season, there's so much more that you have on your plate. We have no doubt. And then you may add more to it. Know that you can address whatever it is. Allow yourself to be driven, moved, inspired by your vision for yourself. And if you don't have one, leverage us to help you get one. Have one. You deserve it. Your family does. The community does. But most importantly, the essence of your life will be so greatly enhanced as a result of it. Why don't?
Thank you.
Thank you.